I'm going to show you two any card at any numbers. Now once you've watched them, I want you to imagine you have a close-up gig. You have to go and perform this effect over and over and over. Which one would you rather perform? Which effect do you think is better? Which effect would you rather do if you knew the method? And overall, which effect do you like more? Pause the video once you've watched and let me know in the comments below. First effect is called leg can. Right there, and we'll do this and I'll give them one of these. So just hopefully people can see, there's no way I can have control over the cards when I'm like dropping them on a table like this. All right, Mo, are you satisfied? That's what matters here. Are you satisfied that these cards are mixed up and there's no way we can know the order? I'll mix it up one last time just so we can't know what that bottom card is there. And then will you be, are you satisfied with that?
Absolutely.
All right, so I'll take that deck and I will leave it in here. Now I'm going to leave it on the table now, so there's no way that I can do sleight of hand or nothing like that, okay? Mo, I want you to name any card and any number that you want.
10 of clubs.
Okay, and any number.
10.
10. All right, watch. I'm going to do this very fairly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll place right there as fair as can be. So as long as through all that shuffling, there's no 10 of clubs anywhere here, then how crazy would that be, Mo? If your intuition led us to any number, any card, and it was the 10 of clubs.
Yo, get out, man. What did you do this time?
And here's the second performance.
99 cents delivery.
All right, I want you to name any card.
We got to refund.
Name it out loud, so everyone knows.
Ace of clubs.
Ace of clubs. Sure, you don't want to change your
Ace
mind.
of clubs. Right? Ace of clubs.
So if you were to guess the position of the ace of clubs, you wouldn't have a great shot, right?
No,
you wouldn't know.
you know,
But I'm a nice guy.
No, somewhere.
I'm a nice guy, so I'll give you. There you go. I'll give you a hint. But watch.
I see it.
You got about where it is?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
So how about if I cut the deck? I go like this.
Yeah.
You know where it is still? What number, roughly?
23.
23,
This is
sure?
crazy.
Okay, shuffle it up, mix them up again. So now you totally don't know. Now none of us know.
No, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I hope nobody knows.
But this way, no one will know. But hopefully you'll have a connection because you picked the ace of clubs, right? All right, here's what we'll do. You hold on to that.
Yeah.
Think of a number between 1 and 52.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Deal that number of cards into my hand. Okay? Go. Just deal, no, from the top, just one at a time. Yeah, perfect. 3. Okay, I won't even count. Stop whenever you want. You're sure?
Yeah.
Okay, watch. I'm just gonna
I
square.
know what number that
I'm
is.
just gonna square these up. I wasn't counting. How many numbers was that?
16.
So this is 16
I knew
cards.
that. Yeah.
I didn't do anything. He dealt 16 cards. It was ace of clubs, right?
Yeah.
Flip it over.
Oh, hell no, bro. Oh, hey, boys.
Yo, this is
If this is Ace of Clubs, we're all leaving, bro.
We're all going home.
It's good night.
Okay.
It's good night, baby.
Yo, what the Tom?
Now that you've seen both of those performances, pause the video, go in the comments and let me know if you had a gig and you had to perform this effect over and over and over to multiple different groups of people. Which effect do you think is better? Which one would you rather perform? And overall, what do you think is a better effect from method, performability, foolingness, and all those different factors? What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today we got Dear Magicians episode 9. This is going to be an incredible video on a very key topic that is very important for all levels of magicians and something I really have been wanting to talk about because I think it is super important for you guys to hear. If you don't know what Dear Magicians is in this series, it's kind of a rant style series where I address you as magicians and I kind of, write an open letter to you guys about a certain topic. It's always different, it's always interesting, and if you like these type of videos, make sure you drop me a like and leave me a comment. If you guys would like any help with your magic or mentalism, I am available for private lessons at the link in the description. If you'd like to learn some incredible mentalism and some of my best mentalism effects, you can go check out my mentalism membership in the description, or I'll link it up here. With all that said, let's get right into the video. Dear magicians, keep it simple. Now this is something that you hear across all facets of life. Keep it simple. And this can't be a more applicable statement in the context of magic. Magic is one of these things that as you start on your journey, you start simple. And you slowly move away, and you start to become more complex and do more complex magic. And that is great up until a point where you eventually hit diminishing returns. And you start to continue to chase harder things, more fooling things, more complicated things. You put all this time into it and you ultimately don't end up using it. You don't end up performing these things. Now I want to start this video with a disclaimer. This again is targeted more so at magicians who are interested in performing, whether as a hobby or as professionally, but regardless, if you're performing, my points in this video are key. If you are just a hobbyist, I still think you'll get some value from this video, but keep in mind, the goal here of my channel is to help you guys perform and become better performing magicians. Quick pause in your regularly scheduled program. I just wanted to quickly announce that I will be hosting another exclusive group lesson at this date and time right here. Now, if you don't know how the lessons work, every participant gets their own 10-minute exclusive block to talk one-on-one with me, where I can answer any questions they have card magic mentalism related. I can critique your sleights and effects, help you with effects, or any other questions you might have. Not only that, you get to watch the entire lesson and learn from all the different questions and subtleties and effects that I might go over while answering everyone else's questions. And to top it all off, at the end of every lesson, there is a bonus 20-30 minute jam session where you jam with myself and all the other attendees. You get more opportunities to ask questions, and sometimes you even get some incredible bonus effects that I teach that I haven't taught anywhere else. Now, if you are interested in the next group lesson, make sure to go sign up at the link in the description. There are only 10 spots available, so spots will fill up quickly, so make sure you jump on it, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next lesson. So this journey of diving and looking for more complicated things, it's fueled by our new intrigue, our new interest, right? When we're young magicians in magic, when we're first into magic. There's so much to learn, so much intrigue, and it feels like the correct progression to move through simple things and continuously get more difficult, more challenging things. And like with any endeavor, you start simple and you work your way up, and as you get better and you do even more difficult things. And that's true with magic, right? You're gonna start with learning how to shuffle, learning how to do a false shuffle, learning a double lift, and eventually you're going to move into some card controls, some forces, and then maybe the cull and some of these more difficult things to do. And up to that point, that's totally logical and totally fine, but eventually you reach a point where it's really diminishing returns. And the main reason for this is that the best magic is often the simplest. And the problem is, as magicians, it's not till later on in your magic journey that you realize it's not all about how fooling a trick is, it's not all about how deceptive a trick is, but the performability and the ease of performance is just as important. We get sucked into all kinds of traps. Traps like magician foolers, traps like the best A-can of all time, and other different products that get sold with these incredible promises that capture our attention. As a young magician, you're so easy to jump and follow and chase these things because you just want to learn. And you think, hey, if this is more difficult, it must be better. If this is more difficult, and I see how this could be more fooling, so it must be better. And then you go to your first gig and you try these really complicated effects, and you fall flat because you realize how important the performance side of these effects are. And that's not just the ease of performance, it's how it plays in performance, how long it takes to get to the climax, how long it takes to get to magical moments, how procedural it is. A lot of these things are super important when it comes to diagnosing effects. There is no perfect effect, no perfect A-can, and we run into this issue where the more we strive to find that, the more complicated and more difficult we have to push these methods, and it often takes away from the effect that we were trying to achieve at the beginning. Looking for more clean effects, more fooling effects. Sometimes we strike diamonds in the rough, but often we end up finding and learning things that we aren't going to use. Now, this is not at all to say don't create, don't push yourself. That's not the message of this video. The message is from a performing side. Keep things simple. Okay, that's the message. When you're creating, we should explore all kinds of methods. And I do, and I definitely have plenty of tricks that fall into the complex category and stuff that I rarely perform, but some of it is great for the right situation. So that was kind of why we fall into this trap of wanting to chase these difficult things. But what are the problems with these things? What are the problems with these complex effects? Well, the problem with a complex effect is often the complex method behind it. Now, while I do think the complex methods are intriguing, fun, interesting, and have their place, they also generally have a lot of issues that come with them. And one of those biggest issues is they become very procedural. As an example, there's some complex methods related to ACAN that involve math, that allow you to do thought of cards, that involve dealing and shifting and switching and moving and all these different things that become very complicated. Now, there are ways to build procedure into routine, but it becomes a lot more challenging to keep that interesting during performance. Procedural effects can be okay, but they have to be done very carefully. They can become simply complex and hard to follow from an audience perspective. These more difficult effects are often hard to follow from the audience's perspective. They don't understand what's going on. They lose track of the moment of magic and what is going on. From your side, it can be hard to remember all the steps, the things you need to do, and how you execute these complex methods. They can involve complex controls, sleights that are difficult to do, angle sensitive, have all these limitations when it comes to performing that you're rarely in a situation where you can ever perform them. The instructions can be difficult and complicated for the spectator to understand. This can lead to them messing up the effect, because it was just too complicated of an effect for them to grasp. It'll convolute the effect and make it very unclear as what the magic was and what the ultimate effect was. Now, don't worry if you're losing me a bit here on the main message. I am going to get to some examples, including the two effects we talked about at the beginning of this video, in a moment. So now that I've talked a little bit about how we fall into this and some of the problems with it, I want to give you an idea of when your mentality will start to change, because most magicians follow this path. We start out with simple, we learn increasingly more difficult things, and then we eventually hit the point of diminishing returns where we continue to learn complicated things, and eventually we try those things in the real world and realize, hey, the stuff that works, the simple stuff, was better all along. And the thing is, it's often just as hard hitting. So as you become more experienced, you'll start to realize how important it is to be able to have effects that you're 100% confident with so that you can focus on performing. Our show is not so much about the magic, it's about the stories and the intrigue that we bring with our magic, getting people interested in the magic. If they're not interested, it doesn't matter how impressive the effect is. And when you're doing these long, complicated effects with a bunch of instructions that take forever to materialize, you're gonna lose attention, you're gonna lose focus, and they won't really understand what the effect is at the end of it. Once you start performing more, you'll quickly realize that things like the basic transposition, things like a triumph, things like a simple billet peak are so incredibly effective and clean and work really well. These are the tried and tested methods that have stuck around for a reason. When you start performing a lot, you'll realize you want simpler effects, you want more surefire effects, you want effects that aren't going to let you down. And often these more complicated effects can have problems that are less surefire and have more places they can go wrong. The simpler effects are a lot more in our control. That's stuff that we love, and we love to keep simple because it'll be easier for us to remember the effects and perform them. These effects are also heckler proof, which is super important in a real life gigging environment. A lot of these simple effects don't allow much room for people to heckle and try to, take the cards from you or mess things up, because there's less room for error. They have true tried and tested methods working with real people where the results are unexpected. In your room, when you're practicing these complicated effects, they can seem so perfect because it's a controlled environment. Once you get out there in the real world, in the Wild West, anything can happen. These effects are in your control. There's more time to focus on performing and scripting, which is ultimately what's going to take our magic from here up to here and really just change the overall dimension of our performance. We can take the same effect, perform it differently, and have completely different results. This will also allow you to be original, okay? Put more time into your originality and come up with your own different effects by focusing on the simple fundamentals. Now, I want to make a very important distinction here, guys. There is a time and place for these magician foolers, these complicated effects. When we go to an event with magicians, pull out your complicated magician foolers. Having a bit more procedure and some of these fun things to fool magicians is all fun, it's all great. I am talking about the gigging magician. This is my tip of advice to you: keep things simple. When you have these one-on-one intimate sit-down performances, that's fine to make things a bit more complicated, these parlor sort of settings. And there is a way to do more complicated effects, and I do lots of complicated effects in performance, and there's a way to do it, but it comes with time, it comes with practice, and ultimately you want to start by keeping it simple. And generally, no matter how far along you get in your journey, at the end of the day, you see me resorting back to the transpo, you see me resorting back to two-card Monty, these same effects that have always been there and stood the test of time and allow me to achieve incredible effects and incredible magic and feel confident that no matter what scenario I'm in, I can perform. No matter how nervous I might get for a certain situation, I can fall back and do these staples. It's not to say you can't go out there and try these risks and take risks. I always perform more complicated, risky effects, but you always want to have a good foundation. And the other thing I don't want you to get confused with is these simple effects don't mean they're bad. They're often way better. It's not just about how clean it is from our magician brains. Remember, I've talked about magician brain. If you need to cure yours, go watch this video. But you're thinking like a magician. If we take away the idea of a magician, the simplicity in the transpo with the 2 double lifts of having a card switch places in their hand that they signed is one of the purest, simplest effects to grasp, and it's just so incredibly pure. It is an absolute miracle, and that is an effect that any beginner who can do a double lift can do. That's my point. It's one of the hardest hitting effects. It's not any worse. Just because from a magician's perspective it's 2 double lifts, that doesn't make it any worse than some complex Gilbreth principle routine or something. Remember, like I always say, the simple double lift is amazing. At the end of the day, what you really want as a working magician is workers. You want worker effects that you can go work in all environments with all types of people and not worry about failing and have more time to focus on your scripting. So keep it simple. Now I want to talk a little bit about my example at the beginning of this video. And this I think will help illustrate all of these points. Now I always have a hypothesis when I do these sort of leave me a comment type experiments. And my hypothesis is that most people, if they haven't kind of foresaw what this video is going to be about, would probably say that they want to perform the first effect, which is an effect I call leg can. It is a nearly perfect Burglas type effect, a can, okay? It is so clean. So I imagine that many magicians would pick that as the one that they think is better, a better effect, and that they want to perform. Now I've shown you another A-can of mine called So A-can, which stands for sleight of hand, any card at any number, which you probably watched and fully grasped what the method was. You were probably able to follow most of it. Now, the reason I showed these two is because leg can, hopefully, if you haven't seen my tutorial for it, which you can go check out after this video, if you haven't seen that, hopefully you were fooled by it. And with the other one, you probably weren't. And my hypothesis is that you would thus favor the leg can effect. Here's the problem, guys. If you did not already know, leg can is impossible to perform in the real world. It is an effect that utilizes some clever dual reality and some very clever scripting and performance subtleties mixed with a bit of video editing to allow it to appear how clean it appeared on video. There are no stooges or anything like that. The effect felt the same for him, but the way that I layered it allowed me to make a clever edit that just looked like the camera lagged. That's why there was that bit of lag between the 5th and 6th card when it was dealt. That was actually a full cut to another routine that was performed much later. Anyway, it's a very complicated effect, believe it or not, and it's a very incredible, and it's very, very neat how it was all pulled off. So if you'd like to understand the entire workings of that effect, I've done a full breakdown of it. But the point is, that effect is not a worker. It's not something you can do. Yet magicians were intrigued by it. They were all you can go check the comments on the original performance. They were dying to learn the method. Then you have an effect like So A-can that is so incredibly, it's not the easiest. There are some moves that are a little bit more challenging, but it is a worker. It is an effect that I can perform in the real world in my control, and to the spectator, it is the exact same effect as leg can. To our magician mind, you can see how you may have chased that other effect and thinking that that is the best effect to perform to your spectators when it's really not, okay? The method is important. The practicality, the performability, all these things are really important when it comes to our effect selection, our routine creation, and ultimately our performances. Alright guys, so that is it for Dear Magicians episode 9. I hope you got the message of this video. I just want you guys to understand the importance of keeping it simple. And when you're doing these simple effects, you know, don't feel guilty. Don't think you're not performing great magic, because you often are. These are the tried and tested effects. They are great for a reason. Go take them, be original, put your own spin on them, them and then mix in some more complicated fun effects into your routinings, but always have these staples with you and you'll be well off on your way to performing some great magic. So if you like this video, guys, don't forget to like, drop me a comment. If you'd like to check out some private lessons, you can at the link below. Or if you'd like to learn some incredible tried and tested mentalism effects, you can join my mentalism membership. But with all that said, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.